Hello, Mario. Let's jump right into it. Could you share a specific project where data helped you solve the problem, and what was the main goal you were trying to achieve by using data and solving this problem?
Yeah, sure, of course. The current project I'm kind of faced with right now is I want to establish an internal controlling system within our company specific to monitoring the project health of all the
Mm-hmm.
software projects, of all our customer software projects we do. And to
Mm-hmm.
kind of, monitor and understand if a project is healthy or not, there is a lot of data and there are a lot of attributes you kind of need to monitor, right? It's not only technical data, I don't know, like, test coverage or technical depth, things like this related to the technology. It's also about the team health, for example, right? How is the team feeling? Is the team productive? Is it working efficiently? Is it deploying okay? Are there any bottlenecks? Is the time still okay? Is the money still okay? Right. So there are many, many different attributes you need to monitor for modern, successful software projects.
Exactly. And walk us through the key steps you took or are taking to solve this problem, like using data. Like, what's your approach? What was the step one and steps after that?
Funny enough, the initial step was we're software engineers to do a POC on one of our projects.
Mm-hmm.
We had this vision of we want to control this specific project. This project was really huge, 65 developers, hundreds
Mm-hmm.
of source code repositories, a lot of data there. So what we initially did is like, okay, we took a database. I think it was influx database because it's
Mm-hmm.
time series data mainly. We took that one and then we built different integrations into all these different tools where actually
Mm-hmm.
this data is produced. And all we did is we just collected. We
Mm-hmm.
collected and collected and collected and dumped everything into this InfluxDB. And then we took a fancy Grafana dashboard on top. So that gave us the ability to analyze that project.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Mm-hmm.
the
Nice.
initial POC,
Mm-hmm.
right? And from there, we kind of took all the learnings and then kind of applied it towards all the other projects we have or had within our company.
And how did you structure the team working on it? You mentioned integrations, you mentioned POC, you mentioned the stacks after that, and I imagine some different people were involved in this project. And what was their role in this project?
For the initial POC, there were not that many people involved. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was only three of us, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was like the head architect within that project. It was a software engineer who did kind of the main development and developed the main integrations, like into GitHub, for example. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was me just from, from a managing and consulting perspective, kind of dumping my ideas of what I want. So that was
Mm-hmm.
on the POC side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the company-wide level, what we're currently still implementing, right? We're not
Mm-hmm.
finished yet.
Yeah.
What we have is we have a data specialist, okay? And initially, he started off doing workshops with all the other project responsibles because
Mm-hmm.
what we found out is that the projects are really different technologies, different sizes, different customers, different
Mm-hmm.
tool stacks, right? In certain projects, we have operational responsibilities. In other projects, we hadn't. So what we initially did is kind of we agreed on a minimal set of KPIs we want to initially collect, which are kind of common to each and every project. And then we kind of found kind of a way to identify these other very individual metrics and KPIs we want to track on a per project basis. So that was kind of the initial step, mainly doing workshops, interviews to kind of find the right data, find the right metrics we wanted to monitor.
Mm-hmm.
In the next step, then we kind of decided on, let's say, a conceptual architecture on how do we want to collect the data, where do we want to store and aggregate the data, and which tooling do we want to use to finally then analyze the data. Because we kind of knew, hey, maybe it's good to go for a SaaS solution, maybe not use the same stack as we used for the initial POC.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, well, again, a small engineering team formed. And that engineering team, again, we had a tech lead and we had one or two engineers who then implemented all these different, ETL pipelines to kind of get all the data from all the projects. And well, we're still in the process, okay, in all fairness, but it's looking good. It's looking definitely good right now.
Awesome. And like you mentioned some of the tools, and if you could go a little bit deeper in that, like what specific tools or platforms you think were essential or are essential right now in the project of gathering, processing, and analyzing the data in the project?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the end, everything is dumped into Tableau. We decided for Tableau Cloud as our final analytics solution. And in between, everything is right now because we're heavily invested in GCP, in Google Cloud. So all our tooling basically runs within Google Cloud. So that was pretty straightforward to do that. So all the ETL pipelines, they all run within Google Cloud, mainly functions, right? Mainly functions that are usually event triggered by either, timing event or like, proper, I don't know, a build event or something. So all the ETL tooling is working there. And the individual integrations into the tools we want to get the data from, well, this is then usually very tool specific, right? If your CI build runs using GitHub Actions, then you have to write a GitHub action in JavaScript manually, right? If you want to get data from your Jira or your Confluence, maybe, right, let's say on Jira on the ticket status and how long is it open and things like this, then you have to write a manual integration against the Jira API, for example, or you have to write an integration against maybe Prometheus if you want to have some runtime data from all your workloads. Okay, so this then is actually pretty labor intensive because you have to write different integrations manually. And another problem is that we kind of had to implement push and pull both, because on some systems we do not have external access. So we have to push the data into our system. And for the systems we have the access, then we can do the pull approach. So that kind of made it even more complex in the end.
Okay, and talking about the complex and challenges, like while working on this project, what was the biggest challenge or obstacle you faced? Like something with data availability, or perhaps maybe some kind of technical challenges you had to solve during the process?
Yeah, I would say it was not only technical challenges. It was more initially this conceptual challenge. What do we want to measure, right? I mean, in software engineering, you can measure pretty much anything, right?
Exactly.
You can have loads of data there you could technically measure, but the question is it valuable? Can we make proper decisions based on the data, or is it just is it just data, but it's not worth anything? So I guess that agreeing on this minimal set within all our projects, within all the responsibles, that was kind of the biggest, let's say, organizational challenge. Number one. Number two, not everything is quantitative. So for some, like if you want to measure team health, happiness, right?
Yeah.
What's that, right? So we had to find a way how to get qualitative data via regular surveys, for example. We do into the teams to kind of agree on that set. What do we measure here? Do we want to measure here? And technologically, I would say, well, it was definitely challenging to implement all these different integrations, right? Because this is not something you can find out there. There is no open source project out there that basically does that. So this has been, 100% custom software development. I mean, we're experts in that, but it's still a lot of work.
And like, if you had the chance of going back to the past, and if you could do something differently, if you were about to start this project again, what would you do differently?
Very good question. Well, maybe going back, I don't know if we would still decide for Tableau Cloud again. Maybe it would have been better to just stick with good old open source tooling like we started in the POC. Yeah, in all fairness, I mean, operating an InfluxDB is not that hard, right? And having a nice fancy Grafana dashboard, it would have at least saved us a lot of money because it would have been open source. So that would maybe be one thing, I guess, but that is reversible, that step. We are currently thinking about replacing all these, Google Cloud functions with maybe a proper ETL tool out of the Apache stack. So going again, go a bit more open source, a bit more low code, less coding to kind of implement new ETL pipelines a lot quicker without actually having to write code. That's kind of a plan. But apart
Okay.
from that, I mean, it's running okay. We're satisfied. We're not done yet. We have future plans, but there are not that many things I would have done different.
Awesome. Okay, so we took a look into the past. Let's take a look into the future. Like, what do you think will happen in the terms of technology in upcoming years, or maybe 1 or 2 years? Do you think AI will take over the world, or maybe something different will happen, and humans will survive in some way? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Well, in regards to AI, I think we will survive. The
Good to
Matrix
hear.
is still a long time to the future. I don't know if that will happen. I guess this project definitely has a lot of potential in
Mm-hmm.
regards to AI because we are dealing with time series data here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we do all this project to find anomalies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is better suited to find those anomalies automatically without me having a look at some dashboards, right? I don't want to look at
Yeah.
dashboards, to be honest, right? I want to get an email or a Slack message if there is a deteriorating trend in my data. And then I know I have to make a decision. Then I know I have to take action, right? If everything is running smoothly, then I don't have to look at any dashboards, right? If the traffic light is green, then, full steam ahead in our projects. But what I want is some kind of automatic detection, either trend-based or maybe threshold-based. That kind of depends a bit on the type of data you have. And I guess AI or good old machine learning maybe only can really help us here to kind of do more predictive analytics, right? Predictive maintenance on a software project basis, right? Not on a machine. That is kind of the future we want to go to.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, as an organization, because I am hearing from different organizations that they are employing people directly responsible for only implementing AI in companies. And as an organization, like, how are you positioning yourselves for these challenges and changes which will be coming? Like, how you implement them as an organization?
I'm unsure if we will hire dedicated AI experts that
Mm-hmm.
are not software engineers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at heart, we are a software engineering company doing custom
Mm-hmm.
software development. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of our employees are highly trained and skilled and educated, usually computer scientists. They all have a computer science background, maybe a math or a physics background, and they all have a master's degree or even a PhD. Okay. So I would say these colleagues or these new employees we hire, they are already highly trained. And within your computer science studies, you definitely had 1 or 2 courses in regards to AI or machine learning or these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say each and every employee already comes with a solid foundation. He is not necessarily an expert.
Nice approach.
Being one of the best IT companies in Germany, we have a really intense upskilling program within our company with different specializations. Some people want to be a security specialist. Okay, then we do like the upskilling in direction security specialist. Some people want to be user experience designer specialist. Okay, then we do the upskilling here. And for those guys or women, for those colleagues who want to go more into the data engineering, the data science, the AI expert, we also have upskilling initiatives within the company. I mean, we have a dedicated AI squad. I think it's 35 colleagues right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they are pushing each and every AI innovation into our tech community. So I guess we're already internally pretty well equipped, and the processes are there to kind of keep track with all this, AI madness that is currently happening.
Awesome. And on the practical level, like, how are you using AI in your day-to-day work? Like, are there any specific prompts or approaches that have proven particularly effective in your day-to-day work?
Well, I don't even know where to start. I mean, yes, I'm a managing director and CTO, but I'm still developing. Okay, so I have Visual Code or IntelliJ open each and every day. So I'm definitely using standard Copilot things, and it's really helpful, right, to kind of get this laborious stuff, out of the way and to focus on the really important stuff. That really helps. Recently, I've wrote a tech article for a German tech magazine. I use DeepL to kind of improve my text and all that. So that is definitely something I use. And then I can't really name all these individual small tools. I have, ChatGPT UI on my desktop UI on my machine. I have the Misty client on my machine. I have OpenAI, I have Gemini, I have so many other things. I don't even know where to start. But from a developer perspective, I would say Copilot most used. People, if you do writing, that is definitely then ChatGPT. This is definitely very pervasive within our company. My marketing colleagues use ChatGPT for social marketing related stuff. Even HR and finance department already use ChatGPT for analyzing spreadsheets and stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of really heavily depends what the actual task is. But what we have started to kind of streamline this a bit, as we have started a kind of a database where each and every employee, if he finds a good and cool use case or a good tool, then he should kind of document this and then put this into our internal knowledge database so
Nice.
that other colleagues can also benefit from that most sophisticated prompt or that cool tool that we want to introduce.
Awesome. And finally, like based on your experience, like what advice would you give, like one or maybe a few, would you give someone who is just starting leveraging data to make sure that the business is doing more efficiently? What advice would you give someone like that?
Also, very good question. Start small, I would say, right? It's just too easy to just overdo it, and if you start too big and maybe you don't have the capacity or maybe not the knowledge yet, then the probability that it's going to fail is pretty high. So I would suggest start small. Don't start with the technology. It's a funny thing that I say that sentence, okay? But
Yeah.
start with the use case. What do you want to achieve? Then check the data. Do I really have the data? Is the data of good quality? Is there enough data to kind of then do decisions on all that? And definitely start with answering these questions. And once you have that, technology is out there just enough to then, do the job for you and then help you, analyze the data and so you can make the right decisions based on the data. But you need the use cases and the data first. Decide on this, start small, start iteratively, right? Good old practice from software engineering. That would be my advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of the DDDM .fm podcast and answering all my questions today and being our guest.
Thanks for having me, Lucas.